All right, so in this quick Photoshop tutorial, we're going to walk through how to create your color wheel self-portrait. So here's the Photoshop interface. When you open it up, we're going to click on Create New, and then we're going to go right over here to our presets. First thing I'll do is change the name, last name, underscore, and then call this Selfie Color Wheel. Your width, make sure it's 1080, and then change this to pixels, and then 1080 pixels. We're going to change the resolution to 72 pixels per inch, and then the color mode is RGB. Remember, RGB is digital, and CMYK is print. So for this, we're not going to print these out. This is just going to be digital. We're going to submit it to Padlet online. You can post it on your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want to do. And so it's all going to be digital work. So we'll keep in RGB color mode, and then 72 pixels is all you need for that. So once you've got that set up, we'll hit Create. And you've got your square Photoshop artboard here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start to bring in or import our images. So I'm going to go to File and Place Embedded. Okay, we want to embed the photos into the document. You just want to get in a good habit of doing that. So whenever you bring in photos, if you just place it and they don't embed there, what happens is if you go back, let's say I edit the photo in Photoshop in like a different way, when I embed it, it actually makes that change in the original, in the main document. So for example, if I import, I'm just going to grab these random photos. I don't remember what photo is what in this. But if I import a photo, oh, look, it's me. If I import a photo into this document, right, and I embed it in there, and then I open that photo by itself in Photoshop and make some edits, it's going to link the two. So whatever edits I make in that original, it's going to change it in that document. So that might not be an issue now, but later on you might have some need to do that. So just get in the habit now of doing File, Place, Embedded. So some of you might get some dialog boxes if you update Photoshop with new camera raw and all that stuff you might have to go through, but this is the new camera raw look. I'm just going to click OK. I'm not going to do any editing in camera raw. If you're not shooting in raw, please get in the habit of doing that now if you're using a DSLR. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to resize this. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. That's a good size. Where'd it go? That works. Okay. So remember, with Photoshop, you don't have to hold the Shift button down to resize proportionally. It just does it automatic. And you want to make sure when you resize that you have enough room for your 6 photos. So some might be vertical, some might be horizontal. Make sure they all fit in there. So once you've got it in, you've got it sized to the way you want, you'll hit the check mark. And you can always go back and resize. If you go to Edit, Free Transform, or Control T will help you quickly go free transform back to where you were, so you can resize it if you need to. Okay, so now I've got my first photo there, and now we're going to create a color balance filter over it. So I'm going to click on my layers panel. I'm going to open that up. If you don't have your layers panel over here, Windows drop down menu and then layers. And in my layers panel at the bottom is the adjustment layer, and this is what I'm going to click on, and I'm going to click on color balance. And now with color balance, you've got these 3 sliders. It tells you the colors that you can adjust it to. With our color wheel, you start with yellow at the top. That's just how I've always done it. That's how I've always learned it. You start with yellow at the top. So what's nice here is it gives you the 3 colors, red, green, blue, that you'd have for digital, RGB. But then it also shows you these other colors. So if I go away from blue, it's going to make it more yellow. If I go away from green, it's going to make it more magenta. If I go away from red, it's going to make it more cyan, and vice versa. So I want to have this one be yellow. So I'm going to grab this bottom slider and just start to slowly slide it a little bit to the left towards yellow. And I'm actually going to open my layers panel. I'm going to pull my layers panel out just so you guys can see this at work. There it is. There's my properties panel. So I'm going to hit this little eyeball. So there's my color balance adjustment layer. I'm going to touch this little eyeball to hide the visibility, and you can see the difference in color. That might be actually quite a bit. That's pretty strong. So I'm going to pull that back a little bit. And again, there's no set number to this. That's a little bit better. So now you can see it's got a little bit of warmth and yellow to it, but it's not overpowering. What I don't want to see is like, oh, hey, here's my yellow one. Like that just looks like a bad photo. That's not good, right? So we want to bring that back. I think I had like, yeah, right around there. So it's subtle. And at first you might be like, well, you're not going to see that. But once you start putting your other photos around it and you see the other subtle colors, it's going to look really cool. Okay. So mine is like -19. That's right, I'm at, right? That's kind of where we're going. So each photo is going to be different depending on how you take it. So some of you might have to have a little bit more yellow to it. If there's more highlights in it, you're going to notice it more. If there's more shadows and midtones, like in the darker range, you're going to have to maybe pull that yellow a little bit more to the left to make it stand out. So again, this is a fun project to kind of get us going again, get us reintroduced back into class, but it's also a way for us to practice subtlety in our editing, right? We don't want to be overpowering, oversaturating, over contrast. We want to be subtle with it to enhance our photos, not completely redo our photos, right? So that's that one. And then you're going to import 6 different photos, right? One for each color. For this tutorial purpose, I'm just going to duplicate this layer just so I have a second photo there, just for our purposes, okay? And I'm going to move it up to the top here so you can see that. So right now, I've got this new copy photo there, and you can see it's kind of moved there. I'm just going to move it out of the way, put it over here. So now you can kind of see a difference. There's the yellow, and there's the original, right? But what I want to do now is I want to make this one, let's say green. So we're going to go yellow, green, and blue on our color wheel. So I'm going to add another adjustment layer, the color balance, to this one. And I'm going to slide it a little bit to the green. And I'm looking at this photo right here. I'm going to actually move the yellow down a little bit. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I can do that. But I'm going to pull up the blue. That way I'm going to go a little bit more blue. And then slide the cyan a little bit. Bring a little bit more green. It's 27. It's a little too much. All right. So now you're looking at that and like, oh, that looks pretty good. It's got some green to it. But what happened to this photo here? So if I go over here, my eyeball visibility toggle, you'll see that it not only added that filter to this photo, but also this one, because this photo filter is on top. So it's going to affect everything below it, right? So it's kind of throwing off the color look here. So what I need to do is make a clipping mask. So what you can do is if I right click, there it is. Okay, so if I right click on that color balance layer, I can hit create clipping mask. And what it does is it creates a mask. So it applies this filter only to the layer right below it, which is this one. So now I can see them side by side. So now I can see that green is only applied to this layer and not to both of those, right? So that's what I want to do it. The other way you can do it, there's other ways. So if I click on this layer here, this color balance, if I hold down the Alt key and I hover in between the two, you see my cursor changes to a white box with that black arrow. That's also a clipping mask. And I can just click on that and it applies it right there. So you might make some adjustments. Like let's say I make this adjustment and I'm like, oh, it still looks a little blue to me. I want to go back and readjust it. All you have to do is go back on that layer and then double click on the symbol right there. And it brings up that property panel. And now I can kind of slide that over a little bit more. Maybe I do want to make it more, a little bit more green. Now that I have the clipping mask on, I might see something that I didn't see before. So if I slide that to the yellow, that's really green. So I'm going to bring that back. But I can readjust to give it more of a green look. And if I want that yellow one, I'm like, yeah, I want to actually bring out that yellow a little bit more. So again, it's going back and forth, being subtle, not overdoing it. Obviously, the green and yellow are going to probably look pretty similar. Same with like the yellow and orange will probably look pretty similar. And some of those, it's about slow and subtle change, but that's kind of the basics of how you'll make those adjustments. And again, everyone's going to be slightly different depending on the photos you take. Once you're all done, you're going to go to File and Save, and you're going to save it as last name _ selfie color wheel. Make sure you save it as a Photoshop file first. Okay. Once you're done saving it as a Photoshop file, you'll go back, File, Save As, and then you're going to change the file type, keep the same last name, change the file type to a JPEG. So same file type and then JPEG, and then click Save. The JPEG is what you're going to upload to Canvas. So on Canvas, you'll see it'll say Selfie Color Wheel Padlet. Go to that link and you're going to upload your photo and you're going to create a new Padlet wall post and you're going to put your photo in there. And there's some other instructions as well, but that's where you will post that final photo. So Thanks for watching this quick little tutorial. And again, it's just going to get you going on this project, nothing too detailed. So have fun, enjoy, and I can't wait to see your work.